Okay. My name is Vadik Matveev. I'm a product designer at Gazprom Neft. Previously worked at Yandex Money. Last week I sprained my leg and tore my ligaments. I'll be fine, but unfortunately I will be not very mobile for today. Okay. Besides being a designer, I'm also a Whitepaper tools maintainer. What? What tools, can you ask me? Whitepaper tools. Today I'm going to talk about it. Who have ever heard about Whitepaper tools? A few. Nice. Whitepaper tools is an open source tool for developing a design system based on combinations of a simple essences. Is it Sketch? Is it Figma? No, not at all. Whitepaper is a CSS library made for decomposing most interfaces into layers. It helps to create a set of rules that will form the basis of the future design system you have. Who has design systems in their company? Okay, what is design system usually looks like? Usually, it is a list of components in storybook or something else. I don't mean monstrous systems like material design. I mean something less grand. There can be variables for colors, their font sizes, and something else. There even can be some principles for indentation. However, every component built unique. It can be convenient at first, but unscalable in the long run, when it will be necessary to change something globally. Whitepaper helps to add and structure these rules. Our website, whitepaper.tools, is only in Russian for now. Sorry for that. We are planning to translate it in English very soon. Some history. Whitepaper was created by designers at Yandex Money as a private guidelines library for quick design prototyping. After the formation of the basic principles, we fork it to open source. Now we maintain it at our free time, but the principles are the same. And one of the main principles is BEM methodology. Block element modifier. Whitepaper is based on BEM. However, how Whitepaper can help you in your projects? Firstly, it's increased speed work on large projects. How? Whitepaper helps to decompose interface into small essences and structure them into 4 visual layers. It's also easier to test design prototypes because it's now it's not. Oh, sorry. Now it's not linking images in Sketch, Figma, or something, in Vision, something else. Now it's real pages in a browser. And finally, design prototype always goes into development. Whitepaper is also useful in this case. Developer can take markup and CSS styles directly from design prototype and add JavaScript logic to visual finished blocks. This approach maintains consistency, and communication between the designers and developers is finally established and goes in one language. Okay, how a Whitepaper works. First of all, I need to say what Whitepaper consists of. Here goes those 4 visual layers. First one, theme. Second, layout. Third, patterns. And the last one, content. Let's start from the first one, and my favorite, theme. Theme, yes. Theme contains all global variables in the project. Every theme file is just CSS file with a list of custom properties. No rocket science. It has several modifiers. These 3, color, space, size, are required modifiers. Without them, Whitepaper should not work at all. To apply theme, you should add theme to your head on the page. OK, the first modifier is color, the most obvious. It has post CSS variables for the palette of basic colors. Primary text, background, brand blocks, border overflows, tones, and so on, links, status blocks, and accents. You might notice that these variables are not CSS native, not custom properties. That's post CSS variables for using in color function operations. We calculate extended palette from base variables to custom properties. As a result, we have two sets of colors for background and for text, while with prefixes color BG and color typo. And these variables are actually used in the project on the page. Not bad, but what is really cool? Content knows nothing about its color, nothing. We use only semantic classes which describes meaning and not color. In this case, we can mix different themes on several nodes dynamically. We don't actually edit content markup. For example, payment form. We can paint the whole form to brand colors while user is filling the phone number. All we need is to switch theme class. We don't touch form markup. Another example from the real production, Yandex checkout website. Content of these, these two sections is identical, and you may see it. Just look into the markup. These content blocks are identical and has the same classes, but sections look different because of theme. Awesome. It allows to make not boring various design layouts with bright accents and very cheap and fast realization. Sorry. This is how a theme file looks like. Post CSS variables in the beginning and custom properties in the end. We have at least 3 themes: default, inverse, and brand. OK, another important modifier is size. It's much simpler than color. We specify the basic size variable in the global theme block and add necessary size modifier where we declare the value for this basic variable. And below, we specify each value for every variable in EM units. Naming of these variables are familiar by the cloth sizes, from XS to 6XL. Also, we have 4 variables for line height with the same naming principles. Unlike the color, you don't have to create your own theme modifier. You can use Whitepaper default if it suits you. The next required theme modifier is space. This is a set of variables of spaces for different indents, like padding and margins. They also have cloth size naming from 3XS to 6XL. So you don't need to know exact value of each variable. It's more important to operate only with the ratio. When you need to make more air interface, there is no need to change markup of CSS rules inside sections. All you need is to switch class theme of the sections. For example, how it could be in Gmail. Imagine that here is the theme space small by default. And when user wants to make interface more air, we just switch the theme class to theme space medium. Voila. There is no need to do it in the whole markup. Enough to switch only in these 2 sections. You can use Whitepaper default modifier or make your own. Theme breakpoint. This is just a list of breakpoints variables. It's really handy when you have all values of all your breakpoints in the one place. You might notice that it is post CSS variables again. Yeah, the pity thing about it that we cannot use custom properties in media queries. For that reason, we're forced to use post CSS. It would be not so bad if we didn't have to import these variables in every CSS files where we use media queries. But the good news is that new native CSS variable env is near. It might solve the problem with media queries. We'll wait. The next modifier is gap. This is for system indents in layouts. Another modifier for indents and spaces. What for? To divide and conquer. We want to have the opportunity to rule global indents in layout and grids. So we have 3 modifiers for gap: small, medium, and large. The final CSS looks like something like this. We have global variable gap and some additional variables which is calculated from the gap. In media queries, we just respecify the gap variable. Don't be afraid, it seems quite complicated for now, but I try to explain it in more details a few later. By the way, you might notice in gap variable is space variable. Consistency. The last modifier is font. It's very simple. It contains variable for font families, as you can see. Default is native fonts for sans, sans serif, and monotypes. But you can specify your own fonts in your projects. OK, that's all about the first layer theme. Now the second is layout. It has 2 blocks, Tpl layout and Tpl Grid. Tpl means template. And by the way, each of them contains CSS grid layout. Tpl layout was made to describe top-level page layout. Usually it's single on page, but sometimes it might be several. Block Tpl layout contains a few elements. First one is content. These elements have safe spaces for all content inside this one. Handy. OK, remember I've talked about gaps. This safe space is gap variable. The next element is container. It has several size modifiers to limit content into frame. Together, elements, content, and container protect the real content from excessive compression or stretching. So the real content never rests the edges of screen because of these safe spaces. Besides, Tpl layout has special modifier for structure, where you can specify any non-standard layout you want. By default, it has several values for split layouts. This is 50-50, 70-30, 30-70, 10-90, and so on. Every split item has element section. It has no styles. It's just for semantic separation. But you can put elements, content, and container inside each of this section. OK, now it's time for Tpl Grid. This block is good for mid-level layout inside sections. This block is fully responsive. There are 2 scenarios of using Tpl Grid. First one is grid with visually equal items. And the second one, classic column grid. OK, no ratio grid. As I said, it's very handy when you have visual equal items. Each takes the same width and height. To use this scenario, you need to add Tpl Grid to markup and necessary modifiers for each breakpoint. So here goes 1, 1, 1, 1 for L breakpoint. 1, 1, 1 grid for M breakpoint. 1, 1, 1 means 1 column, 1 column, 1 column. 1, 1 for S breakpoint, and so on. The second scenario is columns. It's a little bit more complicated. In this case, you need to add modifiers for total numbers of columns for each breakpoint you need. Also, you need to mix grid element for action to every item. and add modifiers for item width in columns unit. For example, for L breakpoint, it is 12 columns total number. So width of the first item is 7, and the second item 5. For S breakpoint, the total number of columns is 8. The first item has 5 columns width, the second 3, and so on. Anyway, in both scenarios, it's necessary to specify indents between grid items. To do this, you have to add col gap and row gap modifiers to Tpl Grid. Values of these modifiers are full, 2/3, half, third, and none. Final values of each modifiers are calculated from the global gap variable in the theme gap file. Col gap full means that it full variable gap. Col gap half means that it has only half of the gap variable. As a result, you get full proof. Indents between grid items will never be bigger than safe space of the page in common. Profit? Okay, the third layer is patterns. All blocks on this layer has prefix pt, which means pattern. What is patterns? There are not so many ways to display content on page. Our pattern blocks cover most of them. Cards, lists, forms, tables, different tables, icon plus, the smallest pattern we have, but one of the most commonly used, and informers. No time to tell about each pattern, so I'm going to tell you about some of them on the example of card. Okay, first of all, we need to mark up the structure of the future card. Not a banner. I should note, and you might notice that all my examples are with div tags. I intentionally did so because I don't want to distract you from the essence. Whitepaper is not about tags. You may use any of them. Next step is to add content. So we add logo, we add image, we add some text. Okay. After that, we mix pattern card class. Also, we add a modifier for background color. So you see pt card view default. Then let's mix element pt card header with space modifiers. Space hash means horizontal padding, space v means vertical padding. Then mix pt card content for cover, do the same with info, and also space modifiers. And finally, we mix pt card footer with space a modifier. Space a means padding to all sides. And add also necessary to mix another modifier to distribute content between. Looks pretty, isn't it? And we haven't written any stroke of CSS yet. Okay, good. Now let's do something with that list. Firstly, we mix pattern list class. Then we add modifier for vertical padding. Unlike pt card, for pattern list, we describe padding once on the top level, and not for each item. After that, we add distribute modifier. But all of these modifiers should not work if we do not wrap content in pattern list items. So let's do it. Also, it will be nice to add a subway line color to the name of station. Medvedkova has orange subway line color, so wrap name station into pattern icon plus, add icon element with indent modifier, and put the right icon inside. So here we are. We use 3 patterns here, and card is almost ready without any CSS stroke. Let's add some unique custom styles. We add border radius, we add box shadow for logo, and we add some paddings and margins between title and list. That's all. OK, the last white paper layer is content. It contains text, controls, illustrations, icons, text, badges, and others. But to be honest, the interface mainly consists of text. So let's talk about it. White paper has a lot of white paper block text have a lot of modifiers for each state of text. You can use block text independently or mix it to other blocks. Here is the second option. We don't write extra CSS and has globally consistency of all typography in the project. There were 4 layers, but white paper has one more cross-layer block. Welcome, decorator. What for? For extra setting relations between blocks. Let's take a look. Is it list? Yes. Is it pattern list? Absolutely. Is this one list? Actually, it's 2. But we visually can't recognize this. Of course, we can add custom styles to the first list for margin bottom, but there is no need. We can just mix decorator with necessary indent bottom modifier. Good, but not enough. We also want to add borderline. OK, decorator, here you go. Perfect? Almost. The space between first list and border is less than between border and the second list. So we need padding. Bam. Add space bottom modifier. Awesome. Take a look. No unnecessary custom styles for such case. Another example. We want to make these 2 elements in a row. We can add it to the unique styles of block footer. But is it really such unique? Maybe we can mix decorator with distribute modifier and voila. Good, but not centered. Let's fix it. Decorator is very handy in prototyping. But as I remember, developers are also like it very much. OK, now that's really all about white paper. 4 layers plus extra cross-layer block decorator. Looks pretty, but kind of suspicious, isn't it? Let me show you how to build interface using white paper one more time. This is desktop Spotify app. As for me, it's much better and more convenient than web app. So let's copy desktop UI to web using white paper, of course. First of all, we start with theme layer. We copy white paper theme color file and write new values for base colors. Good. Similarly, do with theme font and theme size. Copy white paper default and modify according to our needs. We can't use Spotify brand font, so I choose something similar. Barlow, I don't know. That's all unique edits for theme. The rest theme modifiers will use default from white paper. Theme is done. Let's think about layout. First of all, we need to write markup for our pages. We add a Tpl layout class and special structure Spotify modifier, which we describe below. Spotify has custom layouts, so we have to add custom styles for it. Let's move on. We also have a grid for albums, and here is no custom. Just add Tpl Grid and all necessary modifiers for all breakpoint states. That's all we need from layout layer. Move on. Patterns. Left menu is obviously pattern list. Add space v modifier and get necessary padding. This looks similar, do the same, but inside items we can see icon plus text. So let's add pattern icon plus. Similarly do with this list. It looks different for the first site, but it's absolutely the same, except that space V and indent R are bigger. Moreover, inside pt icon plus block, we can see one more pattern icon plus. No problem, do the same. And again, the same icon plus. The only difference is the size of indentation. Something new. It looks like table. It's a table. Let's add pattern table. Important notice. Pattern table is the only one pattern which expects a certain HTML markup, table layout. We are planning to add a tag independent realization, but it will be in the future. So add border and vertical align modifiers. After that, add row element with this modifier inside pt table. Okay, the next is content. Block text. All text on the page except buttons is made with block text. There is also has block for avatar. We can add image in any way, with background, with img tag, with picture tag, or even SVG. Block avatar has styles only for each size. There are many icons on page. For them, we have also block name icon. Just add size modifier and view for each color. And bonus, decorator. We can add decorator to separate menu lists from each other. In this case, we also use decorator, but for the right indentation. And later, we add decorator to distribute headers items, and also for padding. Similarly, let's do the same for player. Here we need to distribute 3 items, but there is no difference for distribute between modifier. Pam pam, and let's compare what we got. Not bad, not pixel perfect, but very consistent. Minimum custom styles for basic markup. A little bit custom styles was for, firstly, all controls blocks, like buttons, inputs, progress bar, and so on, are made with custom styles. No white paper, even block text. But it's normal. Every product usually has its own UI library. Secondly, artist header was made a little bit custom. There is a linear gradient and a background image. Also, these tabs has some custom styles, mostly for green line. All the rest were made only with white paper blocks. Incredible. Let me show you something more. Today it's very popular to do day and night modes. Night modes we already have, so let's add day mode. Switch theme color to Spotify inverse, respecify base colors, and here we are. Or let's imagine that one big Russian company buys Spotify. All they need is just new color theme. To be honest, this is a very unlikely situation. But next example is more likely. Breaking news, YouTube buys Spotify. Looks nice, isn't it? Hope it will never happen. You can see this demo in CodePen if you want. Here is QR code and the link. OK. How to start? First option is add white paper with CDN. Second option is to install white paper as dependence in your project. And the last one is to clone white paper stub and try to prototype on BEM stack. Frequently asked questions. For whom? For whom is white paper? for designers or developers? The right answer is for both, because Whitepaper is for product in general. Whitepaper adds end-to-end consistency to your design system. You may have as much as you need final components if they made with Whitepaper principles. You can be sure that it will be flexible. Is it new Bootstrap? No, at all. Bootstrap is a library with final components. You can use it as is. It has not so many abstract rules, just end-to-end components with very little customization. Can I use Whitepaper in Sketch, Figma, and so on? No, there is no realization for Sketch, Figma, InVision, Framer, or anything else. And unlikely to ever be. What about React? We are planning to add React realization for Whitepaper blocks. For now, you can use Whitepaper with CDN and use only class names in your JS6 files. What about Internet Explorer? No Internet Explorer, basta. How can I help? Easy. Go to the GitHub and take one of the task cards you like. Sorry for Russian language again. Promise that all next cards will be in English. Or if you want add something new, fix some bugs, help with translation or anything else, create pull requests. We will be thankful for any contribution. Okay, future plans. We are planning to add a separate library with UI controls. We are planning to make a React, Angular, Vue realization, and to translate documentation to English. Thank you very much. Here's our social links. Follow us. And I'm also write short music album reviews in Telegram channel. So if you love some underground and mostly heavy music, welcome. It's also in Russian. Sorry for that.
Okay, thank you a lot. Can we please ask you to move there? Yeah. There are a lot of questions to you. But my first question is, how's your leg?
Now it's fine. Yesterday I was here in hospital and they give me that.
Okay.
And now it's fine.
Okay.
It's cool. We have many questions about Bootstrap, but you thought about it in your talk. And the first question, so we add more classes to every element with this approach. Wouldn't it become class name hell? Do we need class name architect with this approach now?
Sorry, I'm here. Yes, it's one of the most popular questions. Yes, we have a lot of class names in HTML, but we have consistency. We have economy of CSS because, to be honest, margin bottom, padding left, and so on, we have it in all components, in all blocks. And here we have one block for this at all. It's not bad. Something like this.
Okay, short question. Why did you decide to stop using Internet Explorer?
Because I think it's ancient.
Okay.
We must bury it.
Okay, and what with mobile browser support?
Most of them is fine. Maybe with China browser, I forgot how it's called. China,
I can't
the most
remember.
popular.
But does it work in Opera Mini?
Opera Mini goes with Internet Explorer to the grave.
I have an interesting question. Is there other ways to make a good design system?
I think it can be, but we find this way. Maybe there are also good realizations, but I don't know.
Does Whitepaper use global styles for text?
I don't understand the question. Does Whitepaper use global styles for text?
Does Whitepaper use global styles?
Global styles suggest...
What do you mean?
We mean global styles in CSS. It's difficult to explain it more complex.
Whitepaper has block text, which has a lot of modifiers.
Okay.
For every text view we can imagine. It's width, it's weight, it's line height, it's so on. So you can add modifiers you need for this case.
Okay. Next question. For example, the man added more classes to... No, I wanted to ask another question. The question was, what should we do if we use Whitepaper tools and one day we want to totally update the design? And what should we do? We should change the class rules in CSS, or we should update classes in our markup?
You should update, first of all, theme lawyer, because I hope that all new features of your new design system is based on theme. It's like color, it's like spaces, or something else. If it is about something like layout, it's also you can just change a modifier. You can change value of modifier, or you can add new modifier. It's optional.
Okay.
Please tell three the most significant advantages of your product.
I think it's block theme, because I believe that you can not use all other layers, like layout, like content, like patterns, but if you use theme, it has a great power to your project. It gives you very powerful tool for modification for any you want, because you have it's easy to test, it's easy to modify, it's easier to communicate with designer and with developer, because you have the same language of the variables, not exact values, only variable. And in my project at Gazprom Neft now, when I communicate with developer, I don't need the exact value of color that they use. I see that the variable is that I need, because I add this variable to the project, and that's all I need.
Okay. I think the last question, what is the writing on your t-shirt? I tremble between Veselye and Novoselye, I don't know.
That's the stroke from one song. Band is Tpl Grid, it's from Minsk. It's a post-punk band.
Nicely done.
Very good song. It's very sad.
Like we are sad for your leg. Okay, let's thank Vadik one more time. It was a very nice talk.
Thank you very much. Thank you, CSS-Minsk-JS.